So this presentation goes with your notes for all of the source explorations for 1.1, which is human adaptation and migration in the Paleolithic world, our first lesson in our ancient world history unit. So this is from your unit outline. So in your source explorations and in your notes, this is all about how humans adapted and migrated in the Paleolithic era. And so we're going to learn about technology that was developed during the Paleolithic period, as well as how humans adapted to their environment. We're going to learn about both cultural and social development, and also how humans spread around the globe. So our learning goal is that you'll be able to describe the changes in subsistence practices, migration patterns, and technology during the Paleolithic era. And our essential questions that you should be able to answer are: how did where humans lived and the ways in which they obtained their food change over the course of the Paleolithic era? And then also, how did human tools and the ways in which they were used change over the course of the Paleolithic era? So on your notes, we're just going to fill in the blanks. So this is just background information about the Paleolithic Age. So the Paleolithic Age is also called the Old Stone Age, and it began around 2.5 million years ago, and it ended around 8,000 BCE. That's when our next period, the Neolithic Age, began. So humans did not live in that entire period of the Paleolithic Age. They lived at the end of the Paleolithic Age at about 200,000 years BCE. And those humans were nomads, meaning they moved from place to place to survive. And they lived in small groups of about 20 to 30 people. And they moved in search of food as hunters and as gatherers. Since writing was not invented in this period, so we have no written record of what they thought, what they said, what they created. Most of what we know about humans during this time comes from evidence studied by archaeologists. And these early humans were first developed in Africa, and there is archaeological evidence to support that. And then through time, they migrated to other continents. Technology and human adaptation to the environment during the Paleolithic period. So around 200,000 years BCE, humans experienced two physical changes that changed the course of mankind forever. So first of all, they developed bipedalism, which is walking on 2 feet. So instead of walking on 4 limbs, as most animals do, they eventually walked erect, or just on 2 legs. And then also, they developed a large and complex brain. Those 2 changes allowed humans to be dominant around the world. As the human brain developed, humans created adaptations to overcome challenges in their environment by making stone tools. Remember, a Paleolithic age is the Old Stone Age. So they created chipped and flaked stone tools, including hammers, scrapers, and axes. And they created these tools to shape and manipulate the environment, to help in hunting and gathering, and also to increase their chances of having a food supply. So tools were vital. And this image on the top is one of your sources. And you can see there's numbers on the bottom. So this has been identified by archaeologists and is located in some museum somewhere. Humans also began to use fire, which is another crucial major step in human development. So fires were used to cook and preserve food. They allowed humans to make more sophisticated tools, such as larger, more precisely flaked axes. This image on the top is showing how fire is used to manipulate stone tools. They also would deliberately set fires to drive animals out for hunting. So set fires so animals would run away from the fire and then they would be killed by the hunters. And then also they were deliberately set to promote the growth of new vegetation that could be then gathered for food and also could be used to attract animals to hunt. Just like today, we do controlled burns in forests to promote growth of new vegetation. So now this next section is about that cultural and social development in the Paleolithic era. So early humans gathered around fires. So just like we gather around the table at dinner, early humans gathered around fires, and then that social interaction contributed to the creation of social communities and to the development of language. So that was their time to bond together, to relax after a hard day of hunting and gathering, and to socialize. And so that's where they believed that language first developed. Spoken language and symbolic language made it possible to transmit knowledge both within a community, but then also between these communities, between these tribes of 20 to 30 people. And new knowledge promoted rapid innovations that improved hunting and gathering. So once they were able to communicate using symbols and also some form of language, then they could transmit knowledge to other people. Here you see some cave art that will be some of our sources. And then also this top image is just some symbols that they find consistently around the world from the Paleolithic era. Pretty cool stuff, similar symbols. Language also aided the sharing of knowledge from one generation to the next. So when parents had children, they could transmit what they have experienced and learned from to their children. Their children didn't have to discover it all on their own. So that helped make social rules and cultural practices much more defined, including gender roles. And gender roles will become important in our next group of lessons. So as human populations grew and as humans migrated from Africa out to the rest of the globe, they spread their technologies and their cultural practices because of that development of language. So networks between regions for bartering food, for bartering tools, and for bartering exotic decorative items became much more complex. So that trading of items, similar to what we saw with human adaptation. So somebody has something, somebody doesn't, and they're going to barter. So now we're going to look at the global spread of humans during this time period. So technology and communal or group effort enabled early humans to successfully adapt to a variety of habitats. So when they left Africa, they went to different climates. So if they went north, it was cold. If they went south, it was warmer. And so that ability to have technology allowed them to adapt as they spread around the globe. So by the end of the Paleolithic period, humans had spread from Africa to populate both the eastern and western hemispheres and also the northern and southern hemispheres. So the Bering Land Bridge, which is this area right here between Russia and Alaska, connected Asia to North America during the last ice age because the sea levels were captured in ice, and so the land below it was exposed. And so people came across. Other land bridges connected Southeast Asia to Australia, as you see right here. And also just want you to know that this information, these years, is not definite. So up here, this top image on the left, just this was just an article that came out a month or so ago. These are evidence of footsteps in the country of Mexico at around 23,000 years ago. My apologies. So here in the map where it shows 11,000 years ago, that's not true. There's no evidence that humans were in Mexico 23,000 years ago. By the end of the Paleolithic period, the use and control of fire was also crucial to human survival in cold climates. So here you see this image. If they're going to live in cold climates, they're going to use fire. They're also going to use tools in order to survive. And then also when they move to warmer climates, then they created different dwellings or homes, different clothings to survive in that drier and warmer climate. Human migration was related to population growth, and that was both a consequence of food security, so we didn't have to worry about where we're going to get our food, but also it was the cause of food insecurity. As we moved, we were chasing food, so we may not have food for a while. Human migration with new hunting technologies like the spear and the bow and the arrow began a wave of extinctions among mammal species in some areas. So we're looking at the mammoth, the woolly rhinoceros, and the elk disappeared in Eurasia, and in the Americas, the horse, the elephant, and the camel also disappear. And when we're talking about human migration, just like we did in the geography unit, we're talking about what were those push factors, what were those pull factors that encouraged those Paleolithic humans to continue to migrate. Extensive use of fire for foraging and hunting also had an impact on the physical and natural environment and also the atmosphere. So again, intended and unintended consequences, which we learned about with adaptation. So we already talked about how they caused the extinction of animals, but then also there is some evidence that the use of fire also impacted the environment, including the air that humans breathe. That is it for your notes. Hopefully this will help you with our sources and our writing.